Hi everyone, my name is Emily and I'm the young adult librarian at the Rock Island Public Library. And today is Manga Monday, so I have a title for you, and this is Go For It, Nakamura. And in this book, you meet, as you could maybe guess, a high school student named Okudo Nakamura. And he is kind of a quiet person. A lot of people don't know much about him. He doesn't really talk to other people in his class much. But he has fallen in love at first sight with his classmate, Hirose, Aiki Hirose. And you see, this is sort of a very memed cover, like you've seen probably, if you're online, you've maybe seen other like fan art versions of this. And the deal with Nakamura is he has a hard time even becoming friends with Hirose. Like at first, he steps on this guy's handkerchief and they're like, getting to work together at the cultural festival, but Hirose, is okay with like handling the octopus they're gonna cook. And so is Nakamura because he actually has a pet octopus, but this doesn't stop him from getting like sprayed in the face with octopus ink. And it's like, okay, this is not how I want this person who I have a crush on to see me. But, that's what happens. And you just, you have scenes like this where it's like, oh, yeah, okay, this is a comedy manga, but, romantic comedy, because, Nakamura, he really, would like to get close to Hirose, but does not work out at first. Even being friends seems to be just like, oh, I don't know, he's worried about seeming weird and, alienating this person, but what ends up happening is they have to act in the school play together. They end up sort of both recruited for this. Nakamura at the very last minute, and he doesn't have any lines, so he basically just has to pretend to die. That's his whole part in the play. And then eventually they run into each other on the way to school, and he kind of becomes friends in this way of just okay, I've seen this person enough. But Nakamura doesn't think of himself as Hirose's friend. He just, he realizes, okay, I've gotten lucky, I've gotten to be around this person. And I think it's Omori is Hirose's friend, since I think elementary school. Yeah, they've known each other a long time. And Nakamura thinks okay, well, oh gosh, it would be so nice to know this person that well, but I feel like anytime we have any interaction, I can barely get through it without something embarrassing happening. At one point, because Hirose is one of the nurse's aides along with Omori, he's got to take some homework to the house of a student who's out sick. And it's in Nakamura's neighborhood. So Nakamura shows him where this is, and they walk home together. And Nakamura is just so happy, oh, if I died right now, I'd be okay. I would have lived a good life because I'm so happy. And so, what ends up happening is these guys from another school, they're gonna fight Hirose, or just, they're threatening him. And Nakamura wants to intervene, and he tries. But previously, he had been gifted a bottle of dark holy water from a girl in a club at school who wanted, she needs one more person, and he seemed to maybe fit the bill for this occult club. So crashes his bike into a manhole cover, and then when he emerges, he looks like a zombie because he spilled the dark holy water on himself. And, Hirose is thankful, but okay, we need to go to a hospital. And it's no, I'm not bleeding. It's just dark holy water. And it's okay, that's fine. Oh, it's not real, don't worry. Okay, I just have more questions. This is very strange. So, in this book, you get a lot of, the chapters, this isn't a volume 1 technically. I think this is a collection where, these were sort of standalone stories that you could just read and enjoy, and they were in a magazine in Japan, a manga magazine. But what you have, in the last chapter, Nakamura gets to go be in the group that Hirose is in on the school trip to Yokohama, and they're having fun, and he's given the camera to hold by this other kid who knows Hirose better. So Nakamura's all right, fine, I have to put up with these other people, Omori's there, and it's that's fine, I tolerate you. But he's just only taking pictures of Hirose. And what ends up happening is they go out for lunch with their teacher, the teacher buys them lunch, hey, don't tell anybody. But by this time, Nakamura has kind of started to worry that, oh no, what if Hirose has a crush on our teacher? Because he's like this cool guy and, helped him out of some trouble with the guidance counselors in a previous chapter. So what ends up happening, I mean, these guys are having a fun time, just kind of wandering around Yokohama. And Nakamura sees that there's an aquarium. And, he loves octopi, so he'd love to go and check this out. But, it's a little bit expensive. It's, yeah. So Isen, what? So it's Sen Go Hyaku En, which is like $15. And I mean, both Hirose and Omori are like, oh, it doesn't look very big, and that's a little bit expensive for like a small aquarium. And Nakamura's like, yeah, that's true. But he decides he's gonna go anyway. And he's looking around, he's having a fun time, even though it's like all couples in this aquarium. And so, he's looking at the octopi and thinking, I'm glad I came here, but at the same time, my hopes of being friends with Hirose just, they don't seem to be working out. I mean, I don't seem to be able to like get close to this person in a meaningful way. Maybe it's just better for me to kind of, keep my distance and like we can hang out at school, but we're never going to be any more than like classmates, maybe acquaintances. But then Hirose shows up, like he comes to the aquarium and it's like, oh, hey, I know you really like octopi. And, Nakamura's just like, oh my gosh, like he came back for me. He paid the admission fee to come in here. And so, they're talking about just like different things and, like Hirose, he really likes crab. And, they're talking about this, but like Nakamura admits that, well, when I was younger, like if I talked about octopi too much and like thinking they're cool, like people are, oh, that's weird. And Hirose's like, it's not weird, it's cool. Like octopi are really neat. And, if people think you're weird for liking them, you're not weird. They're just boring. You should be honest about the things you like. And Nakamura's like, oh my gosh, thank you. That's really cool. And, he's really feeling like, oh my gosh, I really like this person so much. But, I just kind of don't know where to go next in terms of like being friends. And Hirose like admits that, oh, that other guy in our group, like, yeah, we've known each other for a long time, but he can be really kind of irritating. Like, I don't like it when he like, starts talking about girls and like making weird comments. Like it's like, no, I don't like this about you. So Nakamura's like, oh, wow, I just thought you guys were like really good friends. And it's like, no, it's that thing where we've hung out, but like, I don't know. I don't know what to say to kind of get rid of this person or kind of like get them to not be so irritating around me. And he's like, oh, you're the first person I've said this to. And Nakamura's like, oh my gosh, whoa, I mean, maybe I have a chance. Maybe we could be friends. So like, they're having like kind of this scene where Hirose is like, oh, your hair looks good like that. And right away Nakamura's like, oh my gosh, I'll cut it. And it's like, okay, that's fine, like, right? That was very fast. You very quickly agreed that, your hair would look better in a different style. And I mean, Hirose gets called by this other friend, like, oh, okay, come ride the ferry with us because we'll get a discount. And he doesn't want to, but, he's getting ready to just kind of cave in, like, well, that's fine. Just, I don't want this guy, like, standing over here yelling at us. Like, I'll just go. And, hey, it was nice hanging out with you. And Nakamura's thinking, okay, well, I should be happy that I made it this far. And we got to kind of, like, hang out a little bit, just one-on-one. But, he, like, grabs Hirose's arm and says, don't go. And, he says, like, you told me you should be honest about who you are and what you want. That should extend to, like, who you want to hang out with. And if this guy annoys you, then don't hang out with him. And Hirose's like, yeah, actually, go on without me. I'm good. And the other guy's like, oh, fine, whatever, you're no fun. And Hirose's like, oh, I feel so much better, thank you. That's, you turned your, my advice against me. And, Nakamura's thinking, I just wanted to hang out with you, you're great. But what ends up, the conclusion of this is Nakamura has bought a souvenir for Hirose, because he likes crabs, so little guy there. And the book ends with a confession, but not a confession of love. It ends with a confession of friendship. And Nakamura's like, hey, I've been meaning to ask this, and I was just wondering, could we be friends? Like, I would really like to be friends with you. And there's like this pause, and Nakamura's like, oh no, he's not saying anything. Oh, that was weird, I shouldn't have asked to be friends. But what Hirose has done, he goes and gets the teacher. And it's like, hey, the teacher's gonna take a photo of us. And Nakamura's like, okay. And Hirose says, hey, Nakamura, I thought we were already friends. Nakamura's like, oh, okay, great. So like the book ends with these two like taking a photo and having fun. And there's gonna be another one, like a second collection coming out this month in July. And it's gonna be the problem Nakamura now has, being friends with his crush and, you know, having this person wanting to spend time with him, but like Nakamura isn't sure how to say, hey, I'm really glad that we're friends, but also I might like to be something more. So if you like romantic comedy manga, this is a lot of fun. And this is just, I don't know, with a lot of books, you don't get like a sort of standalone volume like this, which admittedly it's gonna have a sequel, but like some series, they just like, they can be long, or, you know, there might be a lot of build up, like a slow burn type of thing. This more is like story of like early days in a friendship, and then maybe in volume 2 we'll get more romance, but as is, it's like, oh, you know, this is like boys love with kind of like an 80s flair, like that's sort of the style of, I mean, with Nakamura in particular, and like this opening page is like, yeah, it's got a very sort of retro manga vibe. But yeah, I mean, if you're just looking for like a couple books where it's like, you know, not drama so much as comedy, that's a lot of fun too. And yeah, you can just read this volume and then check out the new one when it comes out this month. And thank you for watching. I will see you again soon.